All right, I was in 42, so.
8 o'clock, let's
Final
call the
meetings,
finance
too.
meeting to order. All members are present. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as published and also approve the minutes from the January 3rd meeting.
Make a motion.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Steve to adopt the agenda as published and also approve the minutes from January 3rd. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. Anyone here for public comment? Seeing none. Move on to monthly administrative reports. Paul, you want to do the financials, the mid and the overtime?
Sure. So the monthly financial report would be for December preliminary. Preliminary is on there because over the course of January, February, and a little bit into March, we'll still be recording 2024 items. Expenses will taper off fairly quickly in January. A fair amount of revenue is going to extend out to March, and actually human services in 15th to 20th of March or so. I said, okay, that's it. We have to make our best guess. Brian will take a best guess of the handful of remaining items, and we'll book it and move on from there. That will change the year end and eventually be the December final, which is what runs through the audit. Sales tax. The most recent collection in January was 181,830. That is our highest for the year. So that brings us to 1.616 million. One more payment to go. Last month, we were about 2% behind the previous year. Now we're almost 4% over last year. That was a sizable payment. So one of the last two payments is typically the biggest one. In the previous years, it's been the last one. So maybe the next one's gonna be smaller. Maybe it's gonna be just as big and we'll end up higher than the previous year after lagging for most of the time. But we'll see at the end of February. No change in contingency because we're after year end. There shouldn't be. I will also in April. So after we are done with 2024, I'll be bringing forward the usual, the leftover contingency and any general fund surplus, which last year we started sticking away for large projects. I'll run through that list. That should be here in April. Contingency would be one of them. As far as the list of departments, nothing's changed from previous months, except I need to point out that finance, if you look, is about 4,900 over budget. And that's because I had a payment for our OPEB study that, as I estimated and timed it out, we got a lot of stuff to collect. It takes some 12 weeks to get that done. They were done a lot quicker than I expected. So that $4,600 in payment in December, I was anticipating happening next year. But because the report is done and delivered, it's a 2024 item, and I could probably play the silly game and push it into 2025, but I ask other departments not to do that, so I'm certainly not going to do it. The reason for the overage was we raised wages a little bit last year. So in October, when we look at are we going to be over or under, I made the assumption that that $4,600 payment was still in the 2025, and it didn't. It's a good thing we got the report earlier. Actually, it's a little off topic, but the liability on that went down quite a bit, and they were able to answer quickly and give good reasons why. So that's good. It's not an extra expense because now I won't pay $4,600 in 2025. Other than that, there are no departments other than the ones we previously talked about that are going to be over budget or any surprises coming up. And then I have just a heads up. Year-end carryovers. Those would happen also at the same time. So we'll calculate those in March when we have a full picture of what the 2024 is ending up as. We bring those in April at the same time as any transfers from the surplus or contingency. Just a heads up too that I have a loan application on my desk. I believe it's going to be completed. So once that's completed, the loan review committee would see it and then it'll come to finance. So I'm anticipating that next month we'll have a business loan on the agenda. That's it for the financial report. Unless there's questions.
Any questions? You think we'll have business meeting in sometime in March then?
No, it'll be, within the next week. I'm expecting that next couple of days, I'll have the last piece of the application. And then as soon as I have that, I'll send out some dates.
Okay.
Medical dental, November and December arrived this last month. If we look at, I sent out December's. If you look at the November far right column of percent of premium equivalent at 28%, there's clearly something missing in November. December jumps up to 122%. So November reports probably didn't have enough information, which is why they held on to them. And then December is probably catching up. So for the year, we're at 90. God,
90.43.
90.43. I wasn't sure that was 90.43. So we're under, our expenses will be under our premium. So we will have a good year. They show 334,000 here. The general ledger is a little bit less than that. And I did do the calculation that almost all of that difference is due to the stop loss payments. They can calculate here quicker than we actually receive them. But it will be a good year for health insurance. Dental being dental, 87% of the year, 20,000 surplus at the end of the year, which is almost exactly what we have in the ledger because there is no stop loss in dental. So another good year for dental. Any questions on those? Okay. Overtime. This is January overtime. I also want to point out that last month we had included in December the first payroll because the entire 2 weeks was in December. The payroll after that, there was 3 days, the 29th, 30th, 31st. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That is now included in the second from the right column of 2024 actual. So everything's in there. And then of course the January overtime is listed in the usual place. Any questions on overtime? Okay, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Okay, next on the agenda is the quarterly treasurer's report. You should have that report here. Are you gonna say anything about that?
No. I'm only here if anyone has any questions.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, we're doing well, obviously.
So can you read it to us? Is that
Exactly,
available?
line by line. When you're together, yeah, we're doing well. Interest rates are dropping a little bit, but we're still in a very good position. If there are no questions on that, I will give an update for that tax deed house that we looked to take in December. They ended up paying 11th hour, but they ended up paying. So we did not take possession of that tax deed property.
Good.
Did they just pay what they had to, or they
They
pay
had-
after other years they owe also?
Oh, no, they just
okay.
paid what they
So they're
needed
paying
to.
interest for these other.
Yeah, so they paid, yep, so.
Of the minimum.
We're gonna start the 21 taxes.
And
The
we'll see them
notice will
again.
be going out at the end of this year at the end of this month, letting people know that this is their final chance before it goes in the paper. That usually gets people to pay, and then we add the administration and publication fee of $125 after that, because we have to get a title search. But right now we have about 35 parcels on that list, so which is normally what we have going into it. So, any other questions for me today? I will also add that tax collection first installment was due by the end of last month, and the local municipalities collect that first installment, and so we're doing the settling now. So they're going to settle with us. They send me the information. I calculate what they owe the school districts, what they owe the county, and NWTC. So we do that. So obviously this is the influx of our money coming in last month for the January settlement, and then for the February settlement. So we'll be getting good chunks of money from me. So, anything else for me? Perfect.
Questions from Michelle?
Thanks, Michelle.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, next item is the approval of transfer of 2024 surplus funds to the 2025 outlay budget in IT services. Russ, I'm gonna click on that.
So, late last year, I was informed by Microsoft, and then this was after the 2025 finalization of the 2025 budget, that they're changing their licensing model and that will require us to upgrade our current licensing. So I knew I was gonna have some surplus from some savings in 2024, so I waited until that was finalized to bring this forward, but, my request is to basically purchase these licenses for 15,388, which is a one-time thing, which brings us up to the latest version of Microsoft Server OS. And it puts us in a good position going forward from upgrades and things like that. So, questions?
How much more are we paying now than we would have paid normally, I guess, with what we had before?
They were, I think it was around $35 or $30 a license. And now it's at $50 a license for the Microsoft user CALs for the domain part. And then the SQL one, they changed it completely where you're actually buying the number of virtual servers that we have, SQL servers. You're buying 2 licenses that actually give us almost unlimited licensing for our SQL side, which we have Treasurer's database is on there. The Human Services database is on the SQL server. And then our IMS 21, which is our scanning software, is on the SQL server. So the number of CALs, all of our providers for human services that are on the outside coming in need a SQL license to use the product TCM from Human Services to enter notes for clients and things like that. So.
That'll probably meant something to you, but it didn't mean anything.
Sorry. Me neither.
Sorry.
Technical, sorry.
You can't handle the truth.
It went up.
It did go up.
Yeah.
How much?
Well, every year, things seem to be going up 10-15%. All of my maintenance agreements every year, I get a surprise saying it gone up 15%. I mean, I used to have maintenance agreements that were, $30,000. Now they're $65,000.
But this isn't like when you came up with this idea to switch your phones from AT&T or somebody else where you're saying there's an upfront charge, but long-term, this is actually going to cost us less. This is just
Yeah, it's gonna
more
cost-
money and it's always going to cost us more money. Okay.
That's pretty much right.
They rule the world.
Thank you.
And they own you, and they know it.
Yeah, there's not a real viable alternative. I mean, there are alternatives, but they're too labor intensive for a facility our size, a company our size.
I'll make a motion then, Chair, for the 15,388 for the licensing.
Second,
I'll second.
second by Steve. So, okay, moved by Jeff, second by Steve to authorize the transfer of $15,388 from 24 unused funds into the 2025 outlay budget for IT. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Ross. Any questions on any of the vendor payments that were in line? And, I would entertain a motion to approve the supplemental payroll as presented. Moved by Joe, second by Steve to approve the supplemental payroll. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. Any other matters come before the committee?
I'll actually, one more update. So sometime in the future, I'm going to be bringing, finance is going to go to executives first, but it'll be a cybersecurity type of solution that we're looking at that will help protect Kewaunee County. And, it'll be a cloud-based thing that all the computers would be connected to, that would be monitoring 24 hours a day any activity on our system and nip it, immediately if something were to happen or somebody were to click on something, some type of spyware, some type of ransomware, things like that. So it's probably in the near future, you'll see me come to the finance for that.
Thank you for that. Good news. Sure.
So, just reminding the committee that last fall, we were talking through budget process and healthcare options. You asked that we bring back a discussion in the spring, about healthcare plan structure and things like that. So just wanted to make sure that I'm hitting your marks with that. I can bring back Horton, to come have that discussion with us, perhaps March, probably March if it's a priority for us, or April. And I just wanted to make sure that, when we bring them back, that we have, we're prepared to have a good discussion. So wanted to kind of get feedback from the committee on what it is, which pieces or areas of focus you may have on that. So that I can be well prepared.
Well, I remember the discussion to some extent. I think it was, we were talking about, are there options to reduce costs that we had seen on other plans? You know, have we tried this? Have we looked at that? So I'm looking for whoever you bring in to say, here are some of the things other people have tried to reduce costs or reduce the premium. But we do the renewal in August, is that right?
The renewal, it's just later than August.
September,
Yeah.
October is when it's usually.
Okay, but I knew that we said this is not the time to be talking about options when you're looking for approval, so we can get it in the budget.
Correct,
We said 2 or 3 months earlier would be nice.
correct, yeah, and I figured that having the discussion in the spring would be good timing, so that way we have summer to look at if we are making any changes or not.
It seems to me it always comes back that we're either gonna be cutting benefits or increasing the cost of the employee. Because the cost of insurance just keeps going up. So I don't know what. I'd love to hear some ideas.
Sure. Yeah, and our plan has performed really well the past 3 years. It's been under, it's been under the loss ratio, a positive MLR. So it's putting us in good position right now financially, and
I think that it needs a meeting and a follow-up, because I think we're gonna say, what about this? What about that? And then they're gonna have to go back and say, well, twice that, I don't tell you what that would do for you.
so I will work with Horton to try to bring them in maybe in March so that it doesn't push. So there's plenty of time for
Yeah,
that.
the last
follow-up.
meeting would have to be by June, I think.
Probably, yeah. That'd be helpful. Okay. Thanks. Anything else on that?
Yeah, there was another, well, the police group keeps bringing us up about looking at pros and cons of the state plan versus the plan from the private carrier. So that would probably be another area to get information on. I know we had talked about it one other time, a couple of years ago, and at that time, it was cost prohibitive for the county to go from our current plan to the state plan, but that may have changed though.
Yeah, we could ask Horton to look at that. I mean, they won't formally know until they would take something to market, but they can tell us generally where our plan stands in the market. And all of this against the background that we are having, some more success in recruiting in some positions, still struggling to staff a jail. So the benefited part of the compensation package, if we were to shrink that or change that and create more costs for employees, likely would have an impact on recruitment. So.
Anytime you want to put that on next couple of months agenda. Great.
Very good. I will see if we can get Horton here for the March meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, recruitment and retention, they fit together. So.
Okay, anything else under other matters? Okay, if not, our next meeting will be, Friday, March. I believe it's March 7th. 7th at 8 o'clock. That's okay. And just for your information, I know in May and June, I may have some conflicts, so we may have to change those dates, but I'll let you know at the next meeting. Some doctor's appointments that I got coming up, and it's hard to change those. I was gonna wait 3 months to get in and see him again, so I'll let you know at the next meeting what my schedule's gonna be.
Sounds gonna be May and June. May and June.
May and June possibly, yes. Okay, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Moved by Doak, second by Steve to adjourn, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none.